Today we are going to talk about Windows tool PuTTY to log into the Linux system from a Windows system. You launched Linux EC2 instance and you're trying to connect from your Windows system to the Linux EC2 instance, and AWS gave you .pem file. You're trying to connect it, but you're getting error. You're not able to connect to the Linux EC2 instance. Is that a scenario it happens? It happens many times. At the beginning, it is a little confusing. So we are going to resolve that confusion. You're going to learn what PuTTY is and what is .pem file and how you can convert it to .ppk files. And once you convert, and then how you can connect using that .ppk files to Linux instance. And I'll give you hands-on demonstration. And at the end, I'm gonna give you some exam traps. Let's say you have a Mac or Linux system. It's very easy. You downloaded .pem file and use that .pem file to log into the another Linux EC2 instance. Alright, that's easy peasy lemon squeezy. Alright, but if you have a Windows system, it's not gonna work, because Windows system, if it is older than 2019 server or older than desktop Windows 10, then it doesn't have the OpenSSH client installed by default. So you need a PuTTY tool to connect to the Unix or Linux system. So PuTTY is a free tool which you can download from putty.org. Don't try to download from somewhere else. Your system may get hacked. So download from putty.org. Once you download, then you download PuTTYgen tool as well. So two tools you actually need, because PuTTYgen actually helps you to convert from .pem file to .ppk file. We will discuss later in this video. So the problem is you have a .pem file from AWS when you created EC2 instance and you created the private key files. So you got .pem, but PuTTY needs .ppk. Then you need a PuTTYgen tool to convert from .pem to .ppk. That's all we need to do before you configure PuTTY tool and connect to the Linux EC2 instance. In this image, you see left side, you have a Windows system which has a PuTTY tool, and you have a private key as well on PPK file format because you converted from .pem to .ppk. Now you're using that .ppk file, connect to the Linux EC2 instance, and you are establishing that encrypted tunnel. Through the tunnel you are communicating. That's an encrypted conversion happening. So open PuTTYgen tool, you load that file, the .pem file, and then you convert it, and then you save it as a private key and use that private key, means .ppk file, for your PuTTY configurations. So this is the step you need to do when you launch your Linux EC2 instance. You get the public IP from that Linux EC2 instance, and then you already converted .pem file to .ppk file on your Windows system. In Windows system from where you are connecting, you configure that .ppk in PuTTY tools. Let's get our hands dirty. Alright, here I am on the console, and if I click on EC2, you see if I click on instances, you see two instances running. One is Linux instance, which is a server which we are trying to connect, and then one we have a Windows system. This Windows, actually assume this is your system at home or your laptop at home, Windows system. From here you are trying to connect to the Linux system. So this Windows system we have to work on to configure and convert PEM to PPK and configure PPK file. Alright, let me connect to that instance. If I select Windows instance and click on connect, and it takes me the RDP client. So I'm going to download that remote desktop file so that I can open and connect to the Windows system. Alright, so by default it took administrator user. I just need the password. Let me get the password. So here click on get password and upload your private key. Where is the private key? This is the private key I created for the Mumbai region instance. Alright, so remember the private key is always region specific. Remember this. If you created a private key in US East 1 or California region, it's not gonna work in other regions such as Mumbai. I uploaded that PEM file and decrypt, and it's gonna give me the password. Here is the password. So I'm gonna go back to the login and paste that password. Continue. Ignore this error, and it's gonna connect to the Windows system from where we are trying to connect the Linux system. All right, So Windows system, it takes a little bit of time, and probably it's configuring for the first time. Oh, it was quick. So here, let me show you what you need to do. I logged in here previously, that's the reason it is a little faster. First thing, let me show you how you can connect OpenSSH client itself. That will solve most of your problem. So if I click here in the search, and if I say cmd, I want to go to the command line. There you go. It gives me the command prompt. I double clicked on the command prompt. It is going to open a command from me. If I just type SSH, you see there is a SSH client already there. So in this system, we don't have to do anything related to SSH. So let me try to log in using SSH and verify whether our Linux system is already running and we are able to log in without any issues. So I think it's in the download folder, dir. Okay, there you go. SSH-i key Mumbai. Okay, PEM key, we got it. EC2 user, and then in the instance, so this is the Linux server we are trying to connect, networking, and here it's the public IP. All right, so there we go. So we are able to connect to that Linux EC2 instance, no issues. Now let's imagine that you don't have the SSH client. How you're going to configure PuTTY and connect to the Linux instance. So I'm going to exit from here, so there is no confusion. Exit. So what you do, first thing is you go to browser and download the PuTTY tool. You just Google it, say download PuTTY, and find out which URL has the putty.org download link, and you say download PuTTY. All right, so you see that this is the one. Second link, you see download PuTTY, putty.org. If you click here, you see the download PuTTY. Click there. Now this page has all the download link. So I prefer to download MSI file for Windows, so I don't have to worry about path setting and everything. It's gonna give you the UI installation steps. So I downloaded this. So see, it's downloading. Then if you go there down, there is a PuTTY. It's everything you download for 64-bit, because this operating system is 64-bit x86. Most of the operating systems are like that. If you have ARM or 32-bit, go for the other one. And you need to download PuTTYgen as well. So search with PuTTYgen, and you see there, here it is, PuTTYgen.exe. So you download PuTTYgen as well here. So we download this PuTTYgen. So now we have a PuTTY tool and PuTTYgen. All right. So here, if in the search, if you just say that I need to open PuTTYgen, because first PuTTYgen we need to, here it is. So PuTTYgen tool already we installed, and we are able to open this PuTTYgen. This helps you to convert from .pem to .ppk. What you do, click on load. So it's gonna give you option to path of that .pem file. This is the PEM file path, but you say all files. So this is the PEM file, key Mumbai Windows. All right, this is now key Mumbai PEM file. So key Mumbai PEM file, this is the PEM file, and I'm gonna say open. Successfully imported. Okay, and then it asking me to save that. Save this one as a private key. Are you sure you want to save this without a passphrase? Yes, I don't want to give any passphrase. So now this is your PPK file, and I'm gonna say key PPK for Windows. I'm just giving different names so that I can identify. I'm saving it where it is under download. So I saved it. That PPK file is there in the download folder. Now I'm gonna open PuTTY. In the search, I said PuTTY. See, you said PuTTY app is already there because we installed using that MSI file we downloaded. This is the PuTTY tool. So I'm gonna close that PuTTYgen just to remove confusion. So here PuTTY tool, and you see that, as I showed before, SSH, you click on plus sign, and you will see that auth plus sign, and you will see the credentials. In these credentials, you have an option to configure private key. Browse, and in the download, you see already key PPK for Windows. I have it. Now what I need, I configured the private key, and now I have to create a session. Click on session, and in the session you just create the provide that public IP of that instance. How do I get that public IP? So this is your Linux server and networking. This is the public IP 65.1.108.199. So this is the one. I gave the public IP and save this IP as a session Linux EC2 for PPK. I'm just giving a damn name so that I just saved it. You see the Linux EC2 for PPK. You can load it later and then say open. All right. So what is the user? By default, EC2 user. Just click that. Already private key. There you go. You logged into that EC2 instance. It is that simple. So what did we do? We downloaded the PEM file, and we have the PEM file, and from the PEM file we converted using PuTTYgen PPK file and configured that PPK file in PuTTY tool and created a new session and then connect it. All right, let's go back to the presentation. All right, demonstration is done. Now let's give you some more interesting information. Let's talk about some real world use cases like Airbnb support engineers. They have hundreds of thousands of support engineers. They are working on a Windows system. So Windows system, they can leverage PuTTY to log into the instance for fixing the issues. Another real world use case, maybe you are a job seeker. You just passed out from engineering college. You want to do your project so that you can showcase to the employer. What you do, you create a Linux instance, but you have a Windows laptop for connecting to the Linux instance. So you use PuTTY to log into the Linux EC2 instance and install your application, configure it and create a project and showcase to your employer that I know Amazon Cloud, including all of these applications. All right, these are the very common use cases you can have. Before you go, you just remember these 5 points. PuTTY is a free SSH client for the Windows, and you just need a PPK file which you need to convert from .pem to .ppk using PuTTYgen command. So you must convert from .pem to .ppk if you are using PuTTY, and you have to allow port 22 in security group, and you must save the sessions when you are configuring PuTTY for the PPK files. Once you save, you can use it later as well. Every time you don't have to configure. And 3 options you have. So you have a PuTTY option, native OpenSSH option, and the EC2 instance connect option. These are the 3 options you can leverage to connect to the Linux EC2 instance. The big picture what we have learned is download PuTTY, convert .pem to .ppk, configure PuTTY, and then connect to EC2 instance. Key takeaways, just I'm going to give you for the reference. You keep it for reference. You can download this PPT file. I'm going to give you the link, and you can keep it for reference for your future use. This is also good reference for you. I just created for you so that you can later point of time, you can go through it and you understand, and it gives you a lot of clarity about PuTTY and PEM and PPK file. So generally PuTTYgen is enough for us. That's what I demonstrated. And these are the connection checklist you go through once you download that PPT. When you log into the EC2 instance, make sure you go through the checklist. If you have any error, you have most of the cases, you may have a permission issues, or you may have a PEM file you didn't convert to PPK. So 3 Windows SSH methods, what we have already discussed. The older one using PPK files using PuTTY, and then you can also, if it is a new Windows system, you can have a native OpenSSH client, and you have EC2 instance connect on the browser, which is a browser based SSH. Security groups, don't forget, always allow SSH port 22 from the source IP, maybe your MacBook or Windows systems or any other EC2 instance. So common exam trap, don't change the security groups when the real issue is a missing .ppk conversion. All right. So the correct username, just for your reference, Amazon Linux EC2 user, Ubuntu, and Red Hat Linux, you have a EC2 user or root, and Debian, you have a admin user. Thank you so much for joining with me. I hope this gives you a lot of clarity and give you the quick tips how you can quickly connect to the Linux system from a Windows, and I will see you in the next piece.